Live.
Okay, welcome everybody. We are ready. I'm just going to wait a minute. So if you're on Facebook, if you'd like to share it, we'd appreciate it, or just give us a comment. Let us know that you can see us and hear us. Is the volume off on that computer? Oh, that was you. Okay. All right. So you could also host a watch party. Just hit watch party, and then you host a watch party so people, your friends, can see it as well. Because we know we have a lot of people who've told us that they're watching from home tonight and from all areas of the country. So just make a comment if you can hear us, and we'll get started in like 30 seconds or less. Here too, if you want to post a watch party on your Facebook, you by all means can. It'd be great. It just reaches more people that way.
You go to your Facebook page.
I did.
Yeah.
And then search for Trinity Chiropractic. And then once you find the live feed, you can hit share. And then you can share as a watch party or just on your Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah. Now scroll down to where you see the live feed for today.
Okay.
Hit share.
Here we go, share.
Yeah, share.
And
Anybody have any other questions about that?
What?
Just share the.
No, that'll be up there so they can see it and then they'll join. You don't have to invite anyone.
Just mute your phone or we'll hear. We'll hear a lot.
I just have somebody join. So all these people that joined, they saw it and they just.
Yeah, they just watch.
Yeah,
mute it.
Friends?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So Sybil says hi to her daughter and her two friends watching.
Great.
We're about to start in 10 seconds.
Did I say that? You guys are having dinner. Okay. They're all eating dinner.
They won't get the amazing snack that we have for you tonight. So
Mm,
I'm gonna save
that's
that.
right.
I'm gonna save it for a little bit. Okay, so let's get started officially. So thanks for being here. First of all, we were talking today about how thankful we are about being able to like share in your health journey, basically. I mean, in the last week alone, the incredible amount of healing that we've seen, whether it's heart issues or migraines or sinus problems or digestive issues or neurodegenerative issues, never mind back and neck, stuff, but like serious disease process, reverse and heal, it's absolutely mind-blowing. So we just want to let you know that we're super thankful that you've allowed us to like take care of you guys and help you through this, number one. Number two, and as we get into like having a thriving thyroid, I just want to share with you the lens through which we look at the human body. In chiropractic, there are very specific principles that we adhere to. There's 33 of them actually. So I'm going to sit here and read every one and put everybody to bed. No, I will not. But the overarching theme is basically that we believe as chiropractors that there is an innate and inborn intelligence within human beings, that if you allow that intelligence to express itself, that you will express health and vitality and well-being. However, if there's an interference in that intelligence ability to control cells and express health, then you will express what we call dis-ease. Not necessarily disease, but your body is in a state of lack of ease. And if you're in a state of lack of ease for long enough, then we'll call it medical disease ensues. You see what I'm saying? And so there's one of my favorite principles is number 25, and it's called the character of innate forces. I'm nerding out on chiropractic philosophy, I'm nerding out. But the character of innate forces basically says that the innate forces never seek to injure or destroy the tissues in which they work. In other words, that if that intelligence is flowing through your body like it normally does, it's not designed to hurt you. It's not designed to cause pain, dysfunction, disease process, or whatever the case is. It will respond, appropriately given the circumstances, but with 100% intelligence comes 100% health. That means when we're out of balance or in a state of disease, the symptoms occur: the fatigue, the hair loss, the weight gain, the low libido, the digestive issues. All that stuff are ramifications of not having proper communication between that intelligence in your body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's how we look at it. It's vastly different than through the medical paradigm. The medical paradigm looks and basically does measurements and says, well, this is out of whack, like your thyroid hormone's out of whack, so we're just going to give you more thyroid hormone. And that's okay, but we look at that and say, well, where's the interference? What is actually causing that? What's behind the scenes that's causing the thyroid to be low in the first place, right? And because we've been so indoctrinated into this medical way of thinking, we actually now believe that, oh, it's just our genes. It's genetic. We have people all the time that say, well, it's genetic. My mom had it, so that's why my thyroid doesn't work well. That is not true. Is there maybe a genetic component? Yes. But that genetic component is turned on or off based on decisions we make every day. So if we fill our bodies with toxins and stress and bad thoughts, then we're going to turn all the bad genes in our bodies on. You see what I mean? But if we don't do that and we make helpful decisions, then we literally turn those genes off. So if you look at thyroid issues, we're going to talk just basics at the beginning, because most people we've asked in the last few weeks, they don't know what the thyroid does, right? They just think it's weight related. Well, yes, but essentially what it does is it causes your metabolism to increase. So the more thyroid hormone you have, it causes your metabolism to kick into gear for growth and development and for cellular energy. And what's interesting about it is it's all controlled by the brain. So as chiropractors, we say everything's controlled by the brain, and so is your endocrine system, which is your hormonal system, which your thyroid gland makes hormones as part of the endocrine system. So it's your brain and the hypothalamus that tells the master gland in your brain called the pituitary to make thyroid hormone. And then thyroid hormone is released through the body, and it has the increased metabolism, growth and development, and increased catecholamine effects, which is basically how you deal with stress. So stress has a huge role in how your thyroid works or doesn't work as well. Not just mental, emotional, but chemical stress and neurological stress as well. So this is the system. Now, here's what's interesting is the thyroid just makes these two main hormones, T3 and T4. T3 is the active form of it, but the thyroid releases mostly T4. And then that T4 gets turned into T3 in the liver or the gut. So your liver and gut have to be working properly in order to make the conversion into the active form or the bioavailable form or the one that does the job the best, which is T3. Does that make sense? Right? And so if it doesn't, there could be interference at the level between the brain and the pituitary gland. There could be interference between the pituitary gland and the thyroid gland, which is in your neck, right? And there could be interference between the thyroid gland and the hormone's ability to talk to the cells. So at every level, there could be problems, right? And that's what we figure out, basically, right? Now, the medical way is just to give you more of this. We're just going to give you more of this without looking upstream to see what's causing it. Does that make sense? And unfortunately, there's a lot of causing it. Let me go over the symptoms first. Here are the symptoms. You either have too much or too little thyroid. So too little thyroid is called hypothyroidism. Too much is called hyperthyroidism, right? So too little is by far the most common one. So to a scale of about 30 or 50 to 1, depending on what you read. Come on, man, welcome. Sorry, sounds good. So it's about 30 times more or 50 times more hypothyroidism than there is hyperthyroidism. And so although there are solutions to this, we're going to be focusing here because it's almost everybody has hypo. And the most common type of hypothyroidism is an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That just means that your body starts to attack itself. It either attacks the thyroid gland or it attacks the receptors above or below the thyroid gland, which we just went over, whether it's in the brain or in the cells. Okay? And so the results are the symptoms make sense. They're pretty simple. So if you think of the thyroid hormone giving energy and causing metabolism, which means you're using food to convert it into energy in the cell. That means that if that's not happening properly because there's too little of it, you're going to get less energy, right? So fatigue is like the number one symptom. Also, when you're converting food into energy in the cell, a side effect of that is heat, right? And so people who have hypothyroidism don't have heat because they're not creating enough of it. And so they'll be cold oftentimes. What the thyroid does to digestion is it controls motility. Motility meaning the way your intestines and your colon contract, or intestines in America. We say intestines. I get laughed at when I say intestines. There is an I and E, I'm just saying. But at the end. But that could be an exception. So anyways, so what happens is you get constipation because you don't have the motility. You also don't create enough enzymes, so you get indigestion. And then also, what's interesting is for the sex hormones, whether it's testosterone, whether it's progesterone or estrogen, what happens is your cell brings in cholesterol, and then through metabolism, it metabolizes those three hormones from cholesterol. So if the metabolism is lower, right, you're not going to pull in as much cholesterol into the cell. So cholesterol will stay in the blood and you will increase cholesterol, and you won't make as much of the sex hormones. So energy, strength, muscle strength, and libido or sex drive decreases as well. So those, just to understand how the thyroid works, like the symptoms make sense once you understand what the thyroid does. And it's not uncommon. It's now 1 out of 8 women. See, it used to be 1 out of 10 and 1 out of 15 and 1 out of 20, but it's now 1 out of 8. So the rate is increasing every year. So there's more thyroid for the same given population control. Does that make sense? So in other words, it's not genetic. You can't have a genetic condition increase percentage in the population. So if it's 10% and it's a genetic problem that has 10% of these people have the genetic, it will always be 10%. But we've gone from 25% to 20% to 15%. Now we're at 1 out of 8 or 12% or something like that of the population that have thyroid disease. Women are 5 times more likely to suffer from a thyroid problem than men. And it's about 20 million Americans. 60% of those have no idea they have it. And here's why. Because you can have a thyroid problem, especially like a Hashimoto's or a hypothyroid issue. Yet the testing that a conventional doctor will use will only show problems after you've had it for maybe 5 or 10 years, right? But you can be having the majority of the symptoms that we've gone through, right? But then your test, which is the TSH test, which is the first test, or the T4 test, they'll show normal. And they'll be normal for many years when you have that many symptoms. And that's why it's imperative to share this information with so many people, because if you just do what's recommended, it's nothing. It's like, oh no, you're testing fine. Mostly it's in your head. Maybe you're just a little depressed, so here's some antidepressants. And that's kind of how they take care of it until 5 or 10 years down the road when the test shows that it's abnormal. Okay? So knowing that the original source is maybe a small fraction genetic, but mostly lifestyle, here's how you can hurt your thyroid, okay? Here's how to harm your thyroid. And we share it that way because a lot of people do the subluxation, which is misalignment of the spine, because the thyroid has innervation from your neck, lacking essential nutrients, because there are very specific nutrients that are needed for your thyroid gland to make the hormones that your body needs. So you need those essential nutrients. Sedentary lifestyle, toxicity overload, low to no vitamin D because of its effect on the immune system and how it regulates autoimmune disease, and then fluctuating metabolism, meaning gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. If I were to boil this down, it's the major thing is subluxation, bad foods, and toxicity. Those are the three main things that people have to look at. And if you have chronic autoimmunity, most likely you have one of those, but it's more common that all three of them exist if you're already in the state of hypothyroidism. Okay? So Alex, I want you to share this.
Yeah.
Let me show them the X-ray of the spine, and this is why, because, well, you just share it. It'll be better. Go ahead.
Sure.
Tell them what we thought.
Just making sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the spine is what protects the most important system in the body, which is the nervous system. Like what Dr. Joel said, if the spine is subluxated, where the bones misalign, they'll put pressure on the nerves, and whatever the nerve goes to will be affected. So,
of course, we're preaching to the choir.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. For those that haven't had their spine checked. But the brain sends the information, it's C5, C6, and C7 that innervates the thyroid. So if you have subluxation from C5 or C6 or C7, it will put pressure on that nerve, affecting the brain communicating to the thyroid, telling you what to do. Right? So this is extremely common. Right? And I would say whenever someone comes into the office with a thyroid condition or a thyroid medication, 99.99999% of the time, they either have a reverse curve in the neck or looking at it straight on, their head is laterally flexed one way or the other, which is putting pressure on the nerve going to the thyroid. It's almost every time, right?
Well, have you not seen it?
I don't think I can say that I have.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, maybe there's one case that maybe it's just a toxicity issue, but most of the time it's coming from the spine and the nervous system. Right? It's gotten to the point to where I do screenings out in the community or talks to different businesses. And if someone tells me that they're on a thyroid medication or anything, I'll tell them they most likely have a reverse curve in the neck or something going on in the neck. Right? There was someone that told me that, and they didn't necessarily believe me. They got their spine checked, and it was this one on the right. Right? So straight neck, putting pressure on the nerve that goes to the thyroid. Right? It's almost every time that I can call it and know exactly what the spine looks like. That's along with other things that I know that there's something going on elsewhere as well, based on the spine. Every time for thyroid, it's the neck.
It's his Babe Ruth moment. He's calling the shot.
Every time, I know what's going on. Right? And so you can see these two x-rays. This one on the left, it's obvious how reverse curve that is. And then the one on the right, straight neck, that C5, C6, C7, those are the nerves that go to the thyroid. So just think about it. If there's pressure on the nerve that goes to the thyroid and left there over time, is that going to build health or disease in the thyroid? It's going to build disease, right? That's exactly what happens. That's the subluxation. That needs to be corrected. Most of the time, people don't just have the neck pain, though. They don't even know that they have a reverse curve. And unfortunately, nowadays, we see in younger and younger kids, because of the cell phone, because of the iPad, because of they're at school looking down all day, they have reverse curves in younger and younger ages, and that will lead to the arthritis and degeneration of the disc and the bones, which will then lead to more issues over time that can't be reversed. Right? It's coming from the neck. It's coming from the nervous system. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. We had like 30 examples of these, but we thought you'd get to point out the 3. But I can tell you that I've been able to help people literally come off their medications, even if they've been on it for 20 years, just with adjustments. But it's not as common. I'd say that's probably 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4 people, because there's other factors to it. And so Dr. Kristen's going to go over the next factor.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start with toxicity and how toxicity can affect the thyroid. The thyroid is very sensitive, and a lot of these toxins in our day-to-day lives can affect it directly, even though you might not think about it while you're using or eating certain foods. So some of these things that can affect the thyroid are industrial chemicals. I'm gonna go over these one by one as well. So industrial chemicals like perchlorate, which is in drinking water, pesticides and herbicides, household products, So anything from what you cook with, what you clean with, what you put your laundry in, what you shampoo your hair with, all of that is included in household products. And then heavy metals, which is a huge one for the thyroid. I'm including these 4 heavy metals: cadmium, lead, mercury, and aluminum that I'm going to go over specifically how they affect the thyroid, because each separate one has its own effect, like detrimental effect on the thyroid. So I'm going to start with perchlorate. So does anyone know what this is? Anyone heard of it before? Okay, so it's found in soil, usually with conventional farming, so farms that use pesticides or herbicides, and it runs off into the groundwater, getting mixed into our drinking water. And the perchlorate, the chlorine section of it has the same ionic charge as iodine, which is what your thyroid needs to function properly. So the charge can get mixed up and your thyroid can actually become more toxic because it's binding more chlorine than it is iodine. And I think sometimes when I talk to patients, they're kind of like, oh, my drinking water's clean. You know, it comes out clear, it looks fine. I actually did a toxicity test months ago, and my perchlorate levels were through the roof, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I never really thought about drinking water, so filtering your drinking water is super important, especially for something like this, which has a detrimental effect on our thyroid. Okay, so pesticides and herbicides. So this is in lawn care, agriculture. I'm sure you've seen the news articles of glyphosate recently in the news in the past year or so. So that's a big pesticide that has detrimental effects not only with cancer, but with thyroid as well. Household, so food and produce, making sure you're eating only organic foods, nothing sprayed with pesticides or herbicides, and also in your drinking water. And this induces hypothyroidism because it inhibits the gene expression and the uptake of iodine as well. Okay, household. So this is anywhere from, there's a million other sources of this as well. So vinyl flooring, cookware, if you're not cooking with like ceramic or glass or stainless steel, you need to change those cookware. Anything that you even stored or like heat up in a plastic container is going to leach plastic into your food. Cleaning products. So like I said before, anywhere from what you mop the floor with to what you clean glass with, what you clean the countertops with. Personal care products like deodorant, toothpaste, shampoos, conditioners, makeup, anything that you put on is included in that. And then stain-resistant fabrics or flame retardants. So what plastic is, it's like a BPA or a phthalate, which is a hormone mimicker, and it's like a xenoestrogen. So xenoestrogen is from something man-made, and estrogen is from a natural hormone, and they mimic each other chemically. So the xenoestrogen can actually take the spot of an estrogen on your gland or the cell receptors, so your body becomes more toxic than having the normal thing because it gets confused. It can't tell the difference between them. So taking these out will allow your body to function normally and have the normal amount of hormones.
That's BPA?
Yeah, so the BPA and phthalates, it's all from plastic products. Yeah. And then flame retardants also mimic the structure of thyroid hormone, and that prevents the thyroid putting hormones into your blood. So flame retardants can be on mattresses, pillows, blankets, children's clothes. Here's some size, so that's a lot of stuff. But just making sure you're looking on the labels, it's all labeled, even though people don't really look at the labels when you're shopping or things like that. It's all labeled for you, so you can avoid that stuff if you have to. Okay, so heavy metals. So this is a big one too. The thyroid is very sensitive to heavy metals. And these 4 are the biggest ones. So these are in vaccines or medications, water pollution, food, cookware, personal care products, kind of all the same areas that we touched on before. But I'm going to read you each one of these just because they have very specific impacts on the thyroid gland itself. So cadmium can cause multinodules on the thyroid, or goiter, which is a growth on the thyroid. That can lead to hyperplasia of cells, which is growth of cells or multiplication of cells, leading to thyroid cancer. Lead can decrease the thyroid function and elevates thyroid stimulating hormone. Mercury accumulates in the thyroid and reduces iodine uptake. So this is a big one for like amalgam fillings. They leach mercury into your body, so silver fillings in your mouth, you want to get those removed because those are constantly being put into your bloodstream, which are affecting your thyroid gland. And then aluminum triggers immune responses, increasing antibody production, leading to something like an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's. So those are the biggest ones. And I think the biggest thing with all 4 of these is that no one really looks into these before going with the traditional treatments. They just kind of show up at a medical doctor with certain symptoms or weight gain or hair loss or fatigue, and they get prescribed thyroid hormones, and these are just the most common.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there
Are
mercury?
you going to ask questions?
Yes. Is there mercury in the flu shot that they're recommending? for
Yes,
everybody
there's
else?
mercury in the flu shot.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, so you should not get a flu shot.
Okay. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your question.
Yes.
Okay, so what's most frustrating with this, like I said, they show up with symptoms and they get handed a prescription instead of looking at the cause or looking at toxicity levels or the food you're eating or what you're using in your home or putting in your body. And these aren't like short-term situations. Every single person that I know that's been subscribed these have like been told they have to be on them for the rest of their life. My mom, for example, sorry, Mom, I know she's probably watching, so I'm going to throw you under the bus here. I love you.
She's watching.
But she has had a thyroid condition for a really long time, hypothyroidism, and she's been on medication for a very long time, has been trying to get off of it, and has been doing really well, but it's taken a really, really long time. It's taken over 5 years for her to even wean it down a little bit, but no one's really helped her look at the toxicity levels, the food, and stuff like that until the whole chiropractic thing came in with getting adjusted and doing all the things more naturally. She's been doing a lot better with her entire lifestyle. So instead of looking at just take a thyroid hormone, you want to look at the cause instead of just the effect of what the hormones are doing. And the 2 biggest questions, like I said before, when you go to the doctor, it's like, well, do I have to be on this for the rest of my life? Should I just remove it? Or have it radiated, which I had a patient tell me that she had her thyroid radiated and just killed. So those are obviously lifelong situations, but you can still do things, even if that situation has happened, you can still do these things, take supplements like I'm gonna go over in a few minutes, create a healthy lifestyle to support your thyroid, even if you've had partially removed, even if you've been on medication for 30 years, even if it's completely not working anymore due to a surgical procedure. You can still support your body and your hormones the way that they should be supported. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to create a thriving environment for your thyroid. So now all the things that we should be doing. So now, take notes, screenshot if you want with some of this stuff. So the advanced plan is the biggest thing. So this is an eating plan, which is no grain, no sugar, so no gluten, especially organic foods only and sustainably sourced foods, which means grass-fed, organic, nothing conventionally farmed, because those animals and produce are given hormones, pesticides, and stuff that we don't want to be putting into our bodies. Eliminate toxins. So like we talked about before, eliminating everything that you don't think is creating a good environment for your body. So look at your soaps, look at your shampoos, look at your food, the drinking water that you have. So supplementing with iodine, selenium, vitamin D, and B12. So all 4 of those, and I'll go over those in a second. Who should be kind of taking what and what kind of symptoms that you might be having. A high quality water filter. So you can use reverse osmosis or the Berkey filters. So reverse osmosis you can do for like a sink in your house or a whole house system. The Berkey filter is like a travel filter that filters out it filters out bacteria, viruses, heavy metals, pesticides, all of that stuff, it filters it out for you. And you can also add a fluoride filter to the Berkey if you'd like. I know reverse osmosis takes all of it out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and there's fluoride in Collier County.
Yeah, Collier County, there is fluoride in the water, and then Lee County, there is no fluoride in the water.
So it's better to take the fluoride out?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So you can add all that. We actually have a Berkey sitting on our countertop. We love it. I think you guys have one too. So you can it's actually a big difference once you start drinking the Berkey water versus the regular water, even though you're kind of used to it. It makes a huge difference. And you can cook with it, clean with it. That's what we use. And I know a couple other patients use it as well. Check your spine and nervous system for subluxation, like Dr. Alex and Dr. Joel talked before. I think every person in this room gets adjusted, so good job, guys. But taking that pressure off of your spine and nervous system, allowing your body to heal and function the way that it should. Eliminate heavy metals or detox. And then a breathing exercise to reduce stress, which supports the brain function and thyroid function. So this is a really easy activity if you guys want to try it with me. Okay, so the 4-2-7 means only nasal breathing. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2, and exhale for 7. So you guys want to try?
Yeah.
Okay. So breathe in for 4 seconds, only through your nose. Hold for 2. And then exhale for 7. Okay, perfect. Good job. So that's, usually do that 15 to 20 times. That will help oxygenate the brain and communicate properly back to the body. So I want to show you, yeah.
15 to 20 times, once a day.
Yeah. You can do it once a day.
7 times, 2 times a day, that's like.
Yeah, you can do it 2 times if you like. It actually it's kind of tough to do it like 15 to 20 times in a row once you do it in a cycle.
Like a Julax.
So if you can just try it for once and then you can see kind of how it goes from there. Okay, so we're going to share some iodine-rich foods with you. So iodine is very important to the thyroid to function normally. So these foods have a lot of iodine within them. And Dr. Joel and Dr. Alex have a lovely snack for all of you that came to the office to try. So iodine-rich foods, fish, specifically cod and sea bass, have a lot of iodine. Seafood like shrimp and scallops. Dairy, so full-fat raw dairy. Milk, yogurt, cheese, leafy greens, eggs, iodized salt, seaweed, which we are handing out to everyone,
Yay.
and fruits and vegetables.
This is really
Seaweed, where are you?
Thank you.
Yes, selenium, very good.
I have
It looks
these
like
snacks.
Do you? Awesome.
Oh.
So we've got little seaweed chips handed out. Yes.
So my mom's same thing, she's been on,
Yeah.
forever. And she's on like a low salt diet because of something else she has too,
She's on what?
like low salt diet.
Oh, okay.
So how does that?
I mean, she just.
If you're having sea salt, it's different than refined salt.
Oh,
Yeah.
So sea salt has 67 different minerals in it, like Himalayan or Celtic sea salt are the best, right? And so it's not going to increase your blood pressure or kidney issues or
So she
anything
can
like
have
that.
that much.
Yes.
salt.
Different than refined table salt, which is just NaCl.
Oh,
Does it
okay.
taste
Okay.
It's kind of like kale chips.
No, you're not.
I don't know my dad.
Right?
Like kale chips, yeah. It's kind of like that.
I miss you.
Kale, if you have way too much of
Yeah.
it, can downregulate thyroid function.
Oh, no.
Well, there you go. Now you can replace kale chips with seaweed chips.
Can alternate them.
Okay, so these foods are honestly the most iodine rich. There are some other ones. These are just the biggest ones that were easiest to put in your advanced plan diet. So obviously all of this stuff goes along with the advanced plan. No gluten, no grain, no sugar. So giving your body what it needs so it can properly disperse hormones into your body. So supplementation, these are the 4 that we recommend if you have the symptoms of hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism. So these are the 4 that we recommend. So Thyroid Plus, Iodine Plus, Vitamin D and probiotics, and the B complex vitamins. So vitamin D and B12 are all included in that. If you, let's say you don't have any symptoms, signs of a thyroid problem, but you want to support your thyroid, probably maybe, just throughout the year. You don't have to take those supplements all year. You should just do the one Thyroid Plus, like once a year. So like every 3-4 months out of the year, you should take that supplement regularly, and then that should support your thyroid enough. If you don't have any of the symptoms, you just want to support the thyroid and the hormones. If you do have the symptoms, taking all 4 would be the most beneficial. So to start, when you think about your thyroid, the first thing to do is see the level of toxicity, get adjusted, and cleaning up your diet and your household products. That's the very first step that you should start with. Then if you do all those things and you're still having the same symptoms, then we test for, which is a BCS test and a hormone panel. So the BCS test is a toxicity test to pinpoint exactly where the toxicity is coming from. And it's an eye test. So what this is the result here, and the patient's was the red line, and the normal is the gray line there. So what this is, it's a vision test, and it tests the grayscale and direction. So there's one after the other, you look straight, you tell which way the lines are going, and then that will show up here, where exactly you're at on the toxicity scale. Each one of these columns has a different meaning. So like column C, for example, you can see here, so hers is extremely low. Column C is vitamin deficiency. Vitamin D is biotoxic illness or like a mold. And column E is environmental toxicity, like heavy metals. So how this works, why it's an eye test, is because if you have more toxins in your body, the optic nerve is surrounded with fat, and those toxins will bind to that fat in your optic nerve, skewing the way that you see the shades of gray. So that's why we do it this way. So this is a very good indicator of where the toxicity overload is, if it's nutritional, if it's environmental, or if it's a mold exposure. So then if you do that, and let's say it's normal, which this one wasn't, but you can go into a hormone panel, which is a little bit more specific on what controls the thyroid, like Dr. Joel talked about earlier. Adrenal glands, so like cortisol secretion, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, all of these things play a role in controlling the thyroid gland. So that would be the next step there. So that's usually the route that we take and recommend, is to start with where the toxicity is coming from, eliminate all the toxins in your diet, your household products, and then move forward that way with testing. So there is one story I want to share with you. So when we started talking about the thyroid gland, this is Tim, he's a new patient with us, and he started getting adjusted 11 months ago in Arkansas, and he's completely changed his life in the past 3 years. He was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and let's see, I want to make sure this volume's up here. He didn't want to take medications for it. He didn't want to be on, probably really low. He didn't want to be on the standard medication of thyroid hormones and all that other stuff, so he decided to take a different route, and he shared a story with us. He's on vacation right now, but he wanted us to share this with you, so I'm going to play it for you. Okay, so I'm here with Tim, and he would like to share his story through Hashimoto's thyroiditis with us. So go ahead, Tim.
So it started out, I went to an allopathic physician, and I brought out the symptoms to him that I had put on 35 pounds. I was exercising 3 hours a day. I was eating clean. I was eating a volume of food that my 120-pound wife was eating, so I wasn't overeating, wasn't snacking, and I couldn't understand I had lower energy. He did one blood test, came back with what he thought was within normal range numbers, and proceeded to tell me that I needed to exercise more. And I told him I was already exercising, playing basketball 3 hours a day. There were no more hours in the day. So my wife had recently at that time started with a wellness physician. I went to a wellness physician and was diagnosed. She did blood work, and at that point I'd already lost 35 pounds on my own doing some stuff. So she was shocked to find out that my blood work showed I had Hashimoto's. It was off the charts. So she didn't believe it. We did blood work again within weeks of each other, and it came back positive again for Hashimoto's. And since that time, I've been working with the wellness physician, doing desiccated thyroid. At home, I do many things. I do a daily detox. I do 4 different mechanisms of purifying my water. Before I drink it, I up my sleeping schedule to 7 to 8 hours a day, and just committed to nutrition, changing lifestyle. I'm on a intermittent fasting where I eat only 6 to 8 hours a day. And I've seen great ability to maintain my weight, improve muscle strength. I now strength train instead of cardio, and put muscle on stronger than I've been even in high school. As far as what I can handle. So all those things combined, within about 1.5 years ago, my blood work came back negative for Hashimoto's, so I completely healed myself of Hashimoto's. And to this day, blood work still maintains that I healed an autoimmune disease, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool, huh? And we were just talking about how a lot of the men that we haven't heard any men that went through a thyroid condition, and like 4 popped up this week.
Yeah.
And he shared it with us. So I just thought that was so cool that he decided to take out all the toxins in his life, eat healthier, and kind of guide through getting adjusted with chiropractic and just totally like committing to it. And his blood work's been perfectly normal for a year and a half. So that's awesome. Good job, Tim.
When you say
Chicago.
daily detox,
Yeah.
what does that mean, a daily detox? Is it something that he's drinking, like a cucumber juice or?
I mean, there's a few different ways to do it, but yeah, we have a daily detox here, like a supplement that you can take. It's like a morning and a night type of thing. That takes it in the morning, takes it out of the cells, and then you flush it out the rest of the day. Just like sweating, working out and sweating will detox your body as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are good questions. Okay, so that's all I have. So what questions do you guys have about the thyroid, toxicity, diet, anything like that?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
That's right. You're not included in the questions.
When you meet somebody who has Hashimoto's or hypothyroid or whatever, are you like, oh boy, this is going to be trouble. I don't know if this person can heal. Like, do you question it, or do you feel confident saying like, well, no, there's just basic things that this person has to do, and they will heal.
Yeah, definitely confident that anyone that comes in that has a thyroid issue, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism can heal from that.
Yeah, like
Just
that.
by changing all the things that we talked about. It's very easy to have your body thrive in the environment that it was created to do so.
Where do you see patients making the most common mistakes when it comes to like allowing their body or creating the environment to heal?
I think just not staying, for me, I don't know what your answer is not staying committed through the whole experience. Like Tim did, it took him 3 years to get where he is, and now for a year and a half he's had nothing but amazing health. But a lot of people, they do advanced plan for 3 months and then they need a piece of pizza or something like that. So they're not really putting their health first. It's more of like a up and down, like fluctuating than standard for me. What's yours?
Well, I feel like people pick and choose what they're comfortable with, and they don't do it all.
Yeah.
You know, like, so when he says like, I have 4 different methods
To
of
purify
filtrating my water,
Yeah.
filtrating my water so that I get clean water. It's like, that's very important, but someone might look at that and say, well, no big deal, I'll skip that one, but I'll do this one because this one's easy for me.
Yeah, like the water's not that bad,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is. But
but
it
it's
is.
that bad.
It's
Yeah.
the whole accumulation.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your question?
Yes, my crazy family. I'm the only survivor of 4 sisters. One lived to 95, one lived to 94. The third one was only 86. I'm 86 and a half now. And every one of us did not have a thyroid condition. Every one of us had a daughter who did. At least one daughter who did. And I know loads of things. My daughter was 10 years old when I was diagnosed with a goiter, and I had seen it, and I was going to mention it as soon as she had her next checkup, which was coming up. And my sister-in-law, who was a nurse, was sitting at the table one day, and she screamed out, "Oh my God, what's that lump on your throat?" Well, Diane panicked, of course, but we totally had her checked out with doctors like you wouldn't believe. And she is now the mother of 3 children, and she's having her daughter has thyroid condition. Diane has her mother. My daughter Diane has thyroid condition. Our daughter Chelsea has thyroid condition, and probably today or tomorrow, Chelsea's having a daughter, so we'll have to wait and see on her. But it's so strange that none of us had a thyroid condition, and yet we all had a child that did. And a few years back, I decided I was gonna check and find out. So I went to a specialist. She was an endocrinologist who specialized only in the thyroid. And she did a total workup on me. And she told me I did not have a thyroid condition, but as I aged, I probably would develop antibodies. So I'm now, as I said, 86. I was about 82 when my gynecologist decided that he thought I should have, I don't know what he saw, but he decided I should have a test. So he sent me for one test, and I'm now on 2 medications, and I think it's safe to say I really do need them. So I take them. We've got a crazy family. I don't know where it came from. The boys don't have it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, it's a lot to be said for
I-
the different
I-
generations now, what we're eating, and a lot
Yeah.
more of the packaged foods and the processed foods and pesticides are way higher than they used to be, so that's very interesting.
I didn't have any boys. My daughter has 2 boys who don't. Only the girl has. As they say, the girl's going to be a mother in a day or 2. So, yeah, you'll find out. But it's so unusual, and I feel I have to take the medications. So I started with 1, and then they do a blood test every 6 months, and now I'm on 2.
Wow.
So one I started
A
with.
couple more questions.
The one I started with, you'll know that what the name of it is Cytomel.
Yeah.
That was the first one. And the second one is Synthroid. I don't know the dosage, I don't even, it's on the bottle, I don't even remember.
Yes, you have a
But I'm feeling fine. I never had a symptom anywhere.
Good, you need to test it every week.
I guess I'm blessed.
You are.
So don't ignore it is my point, it is important.
Yeah, it is.
My daughter at 10 was diagnosed with it. So
Wow.
everything
Thanks
that
for sharing
Chris
that.
and Dr. Joel said is important, especially with the girls.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the water, is bottled water, like, is that okay? Like,
The best is natural spring water.
The best is natural.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
natural spring water, there's so many benefits to it. So
Right.
that's the absolute best. So, but you have to pay for the good stuff, like Evian and Fiji. Those are both very good brands, but they're very expensive.
Right.
But ideally, you can get some without the plastic. So there's Mountain, what is
It's
it?
more expensive than
Mountain
bottled.
spring water.
Mountain Valley spring water, which you can get in a glass bottle at
Right.
at Seed to Table and at Food and Thought and stuff like that, and at the health food stores locally here.
Right.
Right? So yes, but then there's the whole house, like all the water most of the water and toxins you get in water from your shower or bath. Right? So you get more toxins from your shower or bath than you do drinking the water. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can
because-
get like an addition
because
to
it's
your
hot.
shower head too.
So you're
that
breathing,
fills
not
it
only
out.
is it getting through your pores, but you're also breathing it in. And when it's hot like that and there's vapor, it mixes with organic materials and causes like that worse stuff like trihalomethanes and things like that you breathe in. So having filters either on the shower head or there's another whole house filtration that you can get at vitasalis.com, and it's like $1,500 for your whole house. And then every tap that you use, you're not getting fluoride, you're not getting all of the chemicals that she talked about that you find in the water.
You can get that in a community here, because when I lived in the Estates, we used a reverse osmosis for the whole house.
Yes, you have to be careful with that
Why is that?
because
We don't
reverse
well.
osmosis makes water very acidic. So you have to test the water for that. I did all kinds of water testing back in the day. I may know intense about this stuff, so. But it's good, but the problem is you have to be careful with the acidity.
We
Because
had
you can,
a test
I tested a
once.
patient's reverse osmosis system, they had a pH of 4. That's acid.
Yeah.
It should be 7, 7.5, 7.8. 4 is acid. I mean, it was 4, 4.1, 4.2 when we tested it. It's insane. So, Yeah, saltwater pool is better, for
Yeah.
sure.
One other thing, Nassau County, Long Island, is known as the breast cancer capital of the world, of the United States.